Hello, fourth graders. This is Mrs. Baker here with our next division lesson. Today we are going to be talking about estimating quotients. So today's learning target is I can estimate quotients. You will need a notebook to write in, or a whiteboard to do your math work in. But first, let's start with a little review from yesterday's lesson with Ms. Lewis. So yesterday we learned about dividing with remainders. And so here we have 38 divided by 7. It can also be written this way, 38 divided by 7. And so I need to think about my math facts here. 7 times what number will get me close to 38? So if I count by 7s, I know that 7 times 2 is 14, and I keep building from there until I get close to 38. I know that 7 times 5 is 35, and 7 times 6 is 42. So 42 is too big. So I am going to put my 5 here, and I know that 7 times 5 is 35. I do my little subtraction here, and I get 3. Now 3 is less than 7, so I know that my answer is right. So it's 5 with a remainder of 3. So I'm going to go ahead and record that answer here because that will help me with my 2-word problems. So the first one is, each van holds up to 7 people. There are 38 people. How many vans are needed to hold them all? Well, I could draw a picture here where I already know I'm going to have, oh my goodness, that was a really bad van. Let's make it a little better here. Here's my second van. I know that I'm going to have 5 vans. Each one has 7 because I did my math. 7 times 5 is 35. But I have these 3 little people here who have nowhere to go. And so everyone needs to be in a van. And so I need to add 1 more van here for those 3 little people. That's my remainder. And so that would mean that I would not need only 5 vans. I would need 6 vans in all so that everyone has a ride. Then I can look at this problem over here. And this one says each hat you want to buy costs $7. You have $38 to spend. How many hats can you buy? So once again, I know that I can buy 5 hats. There are my cute little hats. Put my little pom-poms on them since it is winter. Okay, so we have 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, and then I only have my remainder of 3, so that's $3. But I know the store clerk won't let me buy another hat with only $3 when they really cost $7. So here, I know that I can really only buy 5 hats because $3 won't cut it. All right, let's go to the next one. Another review from yesterday. Today I'm going to go with red here. So 32 divided by 9. So I'm going to draw this over here. We have 32. How many times can 9 fit into 32 without going over? So 9 times 2 is 18, times 3 is 27, times 4 is 36. That's too big. So I'm going to have to say 3 times, and that is 27. So I will subtract. I cannot do 2 minus 7, so I'm going to borrow from the tens place, make that a 20, and this a 12. Now I can do 12 minus 7, which is 5, 2 minus 2, which is 0. And so this number left over is less than 9, so that's my remainder. So my answer here is 3, remainder 5. All right, let's take a look at the word problems, or the problem solving we need to do. So in this one, we have each shelf holds up to 9 books. There are 32 books. How many shelves are needed to hold them all? So all books need a home. So if I draw my shelves, I saw up here that I had 3 shelves, 1, 2, 3. And there were 9 books on each. I'm not going to draw the book, so I'll just write a 9 for the 9 books. And I had 5 left over. That's my remainder. Well, I needed enough shelves to hold all of my books, so that means I need one more shelf. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. My answer would be 4 shelves in all, because all the books need a home. My last problem here that we'll review from yesterday is each towel you want to buy costs $9. You have $32 to spend. How many towels can you buy? Well, once again, I know I can at least buy 3 towels because I did the work up above. Each of those was $9. So that's a total of $27. And I have a remainder of $5 left over. Once again, just like before, I will not be able to buy a towel if I only have $5. No clerk or cashier is going to say, oh, sure, I'll borrow you $4. They don't usually do that. So you can only buy 3 towels. All right, so we're going to move on to some more practice. This is mental math. So this is math that we should be able to do in our head. So if we have 20 divided by 5, another way to think of that is as a multiplication problem. So 5 times what number equals 20? Well, if I know my facts, I know already 5 times 4 is 20. Or if I wasn't sure, I could count by 5s until I get to 20. I would have 5, 10, 15, 20. So that's 4. And that gives me 5 times 4 equals 20. So my answer is 4. Now, just like last unit when we talked about extending our facts, even if there's more zeros, we can still do this problem in our head. Because I know that 5 times 4 equals 20, but there's that 1 0 there. So remember, if I put that 0 here, that would give me the answer 5 times 40 equals 200. So I like to think of it this way. 5 goes into 24 times, and then I have to remember that 0 because really it's going in 40 times into 200. Same thing applies here. 5 times what number gives me 2,000? There should be another 0 there. And so I know that 5 times 4 is 20, so there's that 20, but I have 2 more zeros. So if I put those 2 zeros back on the end here, 5 times 400 would equal 2,000. So here I know 5 goes into 24 times, and I have to bring up my 2 zeros, 400. Let's do another. 5 goes into 30 how many times? Well, let's make this one green. 5 goes into 30 6 times, because 5 times 6 equals 30. If we have 300 divided by 5, it's the same thing as we did in the last slide. 5 times what number equals 300? Well, I know 5 times 6 equals 30, but I've got that extra 0 there, that extra place value. So 5 goes into 30 6 times, bring up that 0. 5 times 60 is 300. And once again, 5 goes into 3,000. We've got 5 goes into 30 6 times. I'm going to bring these zeros right on up. 5 times 600 equals 3,000. So these are ones that we can do in our head as long as we know that fact. Last one. We're going to do 40 divided by 8. I know that that is 5. 8 times 5 equals 40. So now 8 goes into 40 5 times, but it's really 400, so I'm going to bring up that 0. It is 50. 8 times 50 equals 400, because 8 times 5 is 40, and there's that extra 0. Last one. Once again, 8 goes into 45 times, but I've got those 2 extra zeros. I'm going to bring those up. 8 times 500 equals 4,000. All right, so now we're going to get into the part of the lesson where we talk about estimating with division. So in estimating quotients, we will use compatible numbers. So wait, we need to first know what a compatible number is. If numbers are compatible, that means that they will be multiples of the factors. So for example, I'm going to go back to here. 40 is a factor of 8, meaning that I can make the number 40 with the factor 8 because I know 8 times 5 is 40. 42 would not be a multiple of 8 because there is nothing times 8 that equals 42. You would have a remainder. And so we need to think of a number that is compatible, meaning that it would be an actual product of that number or a multiple. So let's look at this here. Mason has 43 starbursts. He would like to make 8 shares to split with his friends. About, there's that word, it means we're estimating, we don't need an exact answer. About how many will each friend get? Well, I'm looking at 8. I know that 43 is not a multiple of 8. There is nothing times 8 that would give me the answer 43 unless I had a fraction or a decimal, which we are not into right now. There's no whole number that I can multiply by 8 to get 43. But I do know that there are some numbers that would be pretty close to 43. So just like in that last slide, I said that 8 times 5 equals 40. Now if I go one further and say 8 times 6 equals, well, that's 48. And so 43, this number down here, is closer to 40. And I also know that there's no way all of my friends could get 6 starbursts because I don't have enough to split that way. So what I would say is that each friend will get about 5 starbursts because 40 divided by 8 equals 5. All right, let's look at another one here. We're going to estimate quotients again, this time without a problem solver. This one, we're just going to look at the actual quotient and the numbers that we would divide into there. So 5 times some number will get me pretty close to 21. So if I count by 5s, I would go 5, 10, 15, 20. That's super close. 25 is too big. So I would say that this one would be more like 20 divided by 5 would equal 4. So my estimate would be about 4. Okay, so here we have 68 divided by 7. And as you can see, I already started counting by 7s to see how close I could get to 68. And I got up to 42, which is 7 times 6. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 9 is 63. I'm getting so much closer. And 7 times 10 is 70. Well, I feel like 70 is closer to 68 than 63 is. So I would say that this one is about 10 would be my estimated quotient. 68 is really close to 70, so I could estimate that the answer would be right around 10. Okay, and here's another one. Here we have 17 divided by 4. And so once again, I need to think of a compatible number. 4 times what gives me really close to 17? And here I know that 4 times 4 equals 16, because I know my doubles, and that 4 times 5 equals 20. Now 16 is closer, so I would say that this is about 4. Okay, and we only have time for about one more here. As you can see, I already worked this one out. I thought 4 can go 410 how many times? Well, I know that 4 times 100 is 400, and that is really close. So I made my answer about 400. And then if I look at 830 divided by 8, once again, 830 is really close to 800. So I know that 8 times 100 equals 830. Well, boys and girls, that is all we have time for today.